What does like Shawn Baker have to say about veganism? Like, what do you have to say about veganism or the concept of veganism?
Yeah, so that's very good that you make the point that it's a concept because it and a lot of vegans are they're very defensive about this. They say it's not a diet, it is a lifestyle choice, it's a decision. I almost consider it to be almost a religious sort of thing. The problem is that the lot of the beliefs in veganism being healthy, the healthiest diet, I think that's completely false. I think veganism can be healthier than a standard junk food diet for sure, but it's not, by no means is it the choice diet for human beings. Even in India, where there's a huge vegetarian component, I think most people would concede that veganism is a step down, as far as nutrition is concerned. I think the belief that you're going to save an animal's life, I think that's fine. I think I don't think there's any wrong with that. I think it'd be noble, but you have to understand that in food production, particularly modern food production, many animals are killed. I mean, just to harvest crops, I mean, there are thousands and thousands of little animals that get either poisoned, and it's not, they say it's unintentional, but I say there's a word called pesticide, and pesticides are sprayed on crops. The very word pesticide means you're planning on killing pests. This is an intentional act. So we're killing bugs, we're killing insects, we're killing mice, we're killing rabbits, we're killing foxes, we're killing deer, we're killing wild pigs. We're killing all of these animals that would otherwise inhabit that area. And to grow these crops, you have to decimate everything. There can't be a weed there. You have to kill everything except for the one crop that you want to grow. And when you do that, you destroy the habitat for all these wild animals. And so these animals all end up being either dead or their quality of life or injured or harmed in some way regardless. So the belief that veganism is going to spare animals' lives is kind of, it's truly misguided. Um, and so I can make the argument that if I wanted to eat in a way to where I would create the least animal suffering, then I would eat a carnivore diet and I would focus on an animal that is raised in a what we call a regenerative fashion or holistic fashion, where the cow eats grass or the lamb eats grass, and there's no pesticides or herbicides, and then when the animal is old enough, it's slaughtered, you eat it, and you only have to eat a few animals. If I'm eating a big animal, I only need to eat one or two of them. If I'm eating smaller animals, I might have to eat 10 of them, to feed myself, 10 lambs to 10 sheep to feed myself for a year maybe. That's far better than the thousands and thousands of animals that go into typical crop production. So I think the ethical arguments are misguided. I think most people don't realize that people, and I know there's been some unrest among the farmers and ranchers in India. Recently, I've seen a lot of protests, about something. I'm not sure all the details on that, but though I think those people will tell you that they do not do that because they hate animals. They're not going in this because most of them really like the animals. They try to take care of them. They know that those animals, the well-being of those animals is what helps to keep them healthy, because they've got to have, if they have sick animals, it doesn't do them any good. It decreases their ability to make a living. So there's a motivation to keep their animals healthy and happy and well. And that's certainly the case where I'm at. I know I talk to ranchers all the time, and they're definitely sort of horrified when they hear this, some rancher was beating its animals and not doing the right thing. And that's not the norm. The problem is the vegans take these abnormal examples and they pretend this is how it is everywhere and all people do this and all farmers and ranchers are evil people and their only goal is to torture and mistreat animals, when nothing could be further from the truth. uh, Now, ultimately, these animals die for our food. There's no doubt about that. Whether it's a chicken or a fish or a scallop or something. And what really sort of is interesting to me is even if when the vegans say I'm not even going to eat a scallop, a mollusk, it makes really little sense to me because it's like they're not particularly, they could care less. I don't think they have any concept of. I don't think they have any concept of what it means to be alive. Maybe they do. And then the other thing is the environmental aspect of it. And I think this is, and I certainly can speak better to what I know about the US. I know when we look at greenhouse gases, for instance, in the United States, our animal agriculture is responsible for about 4% of the greenhouse gases in the United States The transportation sector is about 28%. The energy sector is about 29%. The energy sector is another, I think the industry sector is about 30%. So cows only produce about 2% of the animal agriculture, or the methane, or not the methane, the greenhouse gases in the United States. So it's really a smaller issue than we're told to believe. And the other thing is, if we want to look at a solution, a long-term solution to solve climate change, if that's what you're concerned about, animals can certainly be part of that solution. And one of the things we see, and will kind of point to India a little bit, because you have a lot of cows in India. I mean, I don't know if you know that, but you've got like 200 million cows in India. You've got one of the biggest herds in the world, more than we have in the United States. The problem is a lot of those cows tend to not be the healthiest cows because they're wandering around, they're eating whatever they want to eat, and they get a lot of parasites. And even when you milk them, it takes a lot more time to get the same amount of milk that we can get out of a cow in the United States. And some of it has to do with genetics, breeding of the animals, proper nutrition, proper care, timing, how the animals give birth to their next, their calves. And so just by increasing the efficiency, by focusing on restoring the soil, if you have people that will do that and rotate the animals correctly, you can offset carbon emissions completely. Like in the United States, it's estimated that if we can take 50% of our cattle and manage them in a holistic manner, we could offset all of the greenhouse gases that the United States produces, including the transportation sector, the energy sector, just by getting cows on grass and rotating them correctly and depositing soil. That's what the data shows that we could do if the will were there. So instead of saying we're all going to go vegan, in the United States, this is an interesting fact. I'll use U.S. data. In the United States, if every American, 330 million of us, stopped eating meat and animals today, and we also got rid of all those animals, we magically took them off the earth and made them all disappear, the impact worldwide on global greenhouse gases would be less than 1%. It would be something like 0.36%. That's how much difference you'd make. That would be every American in the world stop eating meat, and then all the animals, all the horses, all the cows, all the pigs, all the sheep, all the chickens, all the cats, and all the dogs were gone, just completely. Like somebody like Thanos from the Avengers snapped his finger and made them all go away, right? 100%. It wouldn't even make 1% difference. So why are we trying to pursue that? Well, I'll tell you why we're trying to pursue that is because there are some very wealthy people, Silicon Valley and other places, that are invested in feeding you cheap food. We know these grain products are extremely cheap. They're highly, highly profitable. And therefore, if we tell everybody it's good for you to eat, it's going to save the environment, that's not the truth. It's just what you'll believe, and we'll make a lot of money on that. So that's where this all comes down to. And so it's really not veganism. They've been co-opted. Really what's happened recently is the vegans have been around since the 1940s. It's the vegan movement started in the 1940s back in the UK. They've been sort of kind of ignored and kind of just thought they're these kind of weirdos, leave them alone. They're kind of hippies and crazy people. But recently, people have decided to say, hey, we can make a lot of money on this. If we can get people to give up meat, even if it's only 10% of the meat that they're eating, we can make billions and billions of dollars. And so that's what they're seeing. They're seeing this market, which projected to grow to $150 billion a year within the next 5 years or so. So they're advertising it, they're marketing it, they're trying to guilt you into it. It goes against your common sense. Well, mine anyway. I know when I eat it, I feel better. It's part of the human experience. It's part of who we are. Yes, it's part of that cycle of life. I wish, maybe more vegans watch The Lion King so they could say, hey, look, if you're going to watch a Disney film, at least watch The Lion King so you can get an idea that, yes, animals do die every day. It's part of life. You will too eventually die. The worms will eat you. The microbes will eat you. We all feed back into this cycle. And I don't know how that jives with, Hinduism or any of those things, but I know that there's reincarnation, but ultimately we all participate, and death is part of life and life is part of death. And you just have to be able to accept that. And I think you can do the best you can to ensure those animals are treated well. And then when it's time for their sacrifice, then that's fine. Most of the animals in the United States, they have a great life. and then they have one bad day, and it's usually over in a few seconds. And if you compare that, like with wild animals, like we look at a ruminant animal, there is a population in the U.S., the white-tailed deer population. Studies on that have been done. University of Pennsylvania did a study looking at white-tailed deer, and they found that of the small, the deer that when they're just born, if they follow them for a year, 50% do not even make it to 12 weeks. Most of them are eaten alive brutally by a predator, whether it's a wolf or a bear or some other animal that will rip those animals apart while they're alive and eat them while they're alive, or they'll freeze to death, or they'll starve to death. And you compare that to say a domesticated lamb or cow in the United States, 99% of those animals make it to adulthood. They're fed every day, they're watered, they're protected from predators. They have a pretty good life. I think the vegans that say, I speak for the cows, or I speak for the pigs, or I speak for the sheep. If you were to ask the sheep, would you rather be ripped apart as an infant and eaten alive, or would you rather live a couple of years in, and be fed and watered every day and taken care of? What would you choose? I think most of them would say, well, you know, I'd rather live a little bit longer, but I'm not sure.